Hello, my beloveds. If you're new here, my name is Michele Paiva and I'm a licensed psychotherapist. So let's just dive in and talk about first what it means to be raised by someone who is self centered or a narcissist. Now, someone who is an actual narcissist is going to have different narcissistic traits that are very self absorbed, very malignant, and there's a lot of different degrees to that. Okay. So you could be with somebody or raised by somebody who was very, very malignant and toxic, or it could have been someone who was just annoyingly self absorbed. Both of those can really hurt you. Now, there's also the other end of the spectrum where maybe you had a parent who had a health issue, or maybe they were battling addiction, or maybe they were working two jobs. And for whatever reason, they just weren't there for you in the way that would have been best for you. You also could have been with a parent who was just emotionally immature. They weren't ready to have a child yet. So there's a lot of different ways that you could have had a parent that was narcissistic or had narcissistic tendencies that would affect you. So here are 5 areas that I want you to think about. Now, this could be about you, or it could be about a partner that you're with, or a loved one that you know of who might be battling these things themselves. So first, focus on yourself though, because that's the most important thing that I want for you, is for you to be the happiest that you can possibly be. So number 1, do you find it hard to be carefree and to just laugh, or to be more spontaneous? If you have that, it's very possible that you weren't allowed to show your true emotions. So if you weren't allowed to show your true emotions, if you weren't allowed to be free spirited, if you weren't allowed to show your talents and your creativity and to let your personality shine, you were maybe made to feel like you just weren't enough, and that being happy just wasn't for you, that you weren't worthy of being happy. And it doesn't take a whole lot for a child to start to feel like they can't be happy. So if that became a pattern through your teen years, especially, that's going to be something that affects you for maybe a life if you don't get a handle on it. So if you find yourself not being able to just laugh and to let go and to be spontaneous, that can really hinder your sense of happiness and your sense of truth. If you often feel undeserving, where when people do nice things for you, you feel like, why would they do this for me? Or if you feel like good things shouldn't happen to you, you were probably made to feel like maybe you were a second class citizen, that you just weren't worthy. It could just be that your needs weren't a priority and that your parents' needs were always the first priority. Now, it doesn't have to be just parents. It could be an older sibling, anyone actually that you looked up to during your childhood or your teen years that consistently made you feel bad about yourself, who was a father or mother figure to you, could create some of these responses in you. So feeling undeserving now didn't just happen. This is something that happened when you were younger and you just got used to feeling this. If you initially meet people and you feel very much in awe of them, but then they let you down after a short time, this is something where you learned early on that you wanted love, but then it was being taken away from you. So this is something that could have happened with parents, it could have happened with older siblings consistently, and it was something that you just started to learn, that you can't really trust people, that you want to trust them, you want to have relationships with them, but you know that they're going to let you down. So you might initially meet people and you really get along with them, and people might be attracted to you, but then they let you down. So in essence, you're really just attracting love bombing. You're attracting the person who wants your energy because they are coming in and you're taking what they're giving you and you're in awe of them, and they are getting your energy, and then they don't care about you anymore, and you're left feeling like, why did this happen to me? You're feeling left really empty and very used. The 4th area, and I see a lot of this, is being uncomfortable with success. Now, most people don't realize that they're uncomfortable with success. They might say that they want a better job, or they want to be self-employed, or they want more money, and they'll look at you and they'll just say, like, why wouldn't I want more money? Why wouldn't I want a better job? Like, why wouldn't I want to live in Tahiti or whatever? So they say these things, but at the same time, they don't really do anything that would lead them down the path of getting to what their designation of success is. I've known people that for years and years talk about wanting to be self-employed, but they don't even try to start something as like a little side job or a side gig at all. So how much do you really want something if you're not putting any energy into it? And it's not so much that the person doesn't want it, but they learned early on, when they did have success, it wasn't that enjoyable. Maybe you really loved dance, or you really loved singing, or you really loved sports, or whatever it was. But because you never could be good enough for your parents, you just learned early on that what's the point of trying? A lot of people have this. A lot of people want to do things, even hobbies, and they just don't pursue them because they feel like it's silly or they would be embarrassed or whatever. And that's really sad because it means that when you were younger, for some reason, someone made you feel like you weren't good enough. And this is something that's more chronic. So it's not just like one teacher said something to you or one person said something to you and embarrassed you. This is something more chronic. This is something where it's about more how you were raised. So yes, it could be very painful if you remember a teacher or a friend or a schoolmate saying something negative and you felt really small in that moment. But you wouldn't have felt that small if you already had the confidence to be successful. So what I'm saying is, if you already felt like I can succeed and I can have failures and that's just the way it is, that's the path of success. When someone did say something negative to you, it could have been annoying, but it wouldn't have hurt you so much that it would still be something that you think about now. So it really was that you were already fractured, and that's where the salt in the wound really hurt. But the fracture was already there from childhood. And being afraid of success, it means you don't believe in yourself. It means you almost think that you're a joke, that you couldn't possibly get the things that you want or that you don't deserve them. And remember that a lot of these really interconnect. So if you have a fear of success and you feel undeserving, how much do you think you're going to have success in your life? And number 5, and I think this one is probably the saddest one, a struggle with intimacy. This is usually because you've actually had a parent take their love away from you, criticize you, make you feel bad about who you were inherently as a person, not see value in you, and actually physically take away love. Maybe they didn't hug you, they didn't encourage you, they didn't affirm that you were a wonderful person. You grow up thinking that intimacy is painful, and then you actually don't even understand what true intimacy looks like. So your idea of a relationship is pretty painful, and you might accept people treating you really horribly. It might be the opposite, where that's all you know, and that's the way you're showing love. Maybe you are constantly putting people down in your life that you really love, and maybe you don't give them physical affection. Maybe you don't hug them. Maybe you don't tell them how much you love them and how valued that they are to you. And usually people that have those intimacy struggles do a little bit of both. Not only are they more critical of their partners, but they also withhold a lot of love as well. There's a lot of walls in those relationships. So when you add all of this together, these 5 areas that you might be experiencing can be very, very painful. So we've talked about where these things might be coming from, and we talked about what it might feel like, right? So let's talk about how we can find some solutions. Let's start with number 1, and the feeling of not being as spontaneous or a free spirit, not being able to laugh. Now, interestingly, in order to get spontaneous and to learn how to do this, we need to give ourselves some kind of boundaries that feel safe. So I want you to schedule out a couple of hours, and I want you to get outside of your comfort zone. So go ahead and purchase some watercolors and go on YouTube and find someone who can teach some easy watercolor techniques and just do something very simple. But I want you to do it maybe with someone else. Or if you do it by yourself, I want you to share it with someone else. I want you to be proud of yourself for doing something outside of your comfort zone. So if you create something artistic, go ahead and post it on Facebook or social networking of your choice, or just show it to people in your family, or just show it to friends and say, hey, I went out of my comfort zone. This might not be my best work, but what do you think of me just getting outside of my comfort zone? How do you feel about that? And I'm sure you're going to get really good responses from people that are supportive in your life now. As you practice becoming spontaneous through scheduling spontaneity, you're going to start to realize that you don't need to schedule it, and it's going to become safer and safer for you to feel like it's okay to laugh and it's okay to try new things. Because I think that it's really important for you to have some of that creativity in your life to feel more free. Number 2, feeling undeserving. It's important for you to learn how to just say thank you and not have excuses for why someone should not have done something. So the next time someone does something for you or gives you a very honest compliment, not love bombing like the way a narcissist would do, but an honest compliment, just say thank you. and start to get comfortable with just saying thank you. Maybe even volunteering a little bit more so that you get comfortable with giving and hearing thank you. The more you get involved with the concept of gratitude, the more you can accept gratitude as well, and the more deserving that you will feel, because the more that you can bring gratitude into your life, the more deserving that you feel. Being in awe of someone and someone letting you down. This one is a tough one because a lot of times we have people in our lives that we might have known many, many years, sometimes from childhood, and these people might not be right for us. Just because we have a comfort level, because time has passed, doesn't mean that they're really good for you. Now, this could be also someone that you just meet. So the biggest thing to understand here is to be more observant. So if you tend to be in awe of someone and then they let you down, start to notice those feelings of being in awe. Start to notice those feelings of being excited to hear from that person and excited about the love bombing and the compliments and the things that they're feeding you. So I want you to instead look at them a little bit more critically, not negatively, but a little bit more critically, and put some boundaries up. If you can put boundaries up with someone and they honor those boundaries, they're probably a pretty good person. But if the person is trying to push your boundaries, and they are usually very good and very manipulating in how they do that, I want you to be really cognizant of that. You don't have to tell them about the boundary, you just have to have the boundary. So if they call you at 10 o'clock every night, but you want to just put the boundary up that you're not going to be on the phone after 9 o'clock, then maybe when they say to you the next day, hey, I called you at 10:15 and you didn't answer, you can just say something like, oh yeah, I turned my phone off at 9. If they call you right at 9 or at 5 of 9, you know that they're pushing boundaries, because obviously if you turn your phone off at 9, from 9 o'clock on, you probably don't want to talk to anyone. You want that private time for yourself. That means that they're not honoring your private time. So that's just one example. So having boundaries and having them honored right from the beginning is very important, and it helps you to see their true colors a little bit more. Don't relax your boundaries the more you get comfortable with them. Keep the boundaries strong and make sure that they are living within your boundaries. That's how you're not going to be in awe of them and put them up on a pedestal. And you're not going to let them love bomb you where you're up on a pedestal and they can push you off. And that's where you feel like you're in awe of someone and then you can't trust them. Number 4, being uncomfortable with success. So what I want you to do is really look at your relationship with failure. It's okay to fail, and in fact, you have to fail in order to be successful. No one really starts out perfect at anything. And in fact, you can be very successful and not be perfect. So it's okay to toot your own horn. It doesn't mean you're bragging. It's okay to tell people about your success and expect them to be happy for you. If the people that are in your life right now are not happy with your successes, then you need to find people that are happy with your success. And maybe you need a support group. Sidebar, have you joined the Saturday soiree yet? Links are below.
But let's get back to things.
And lastly, intimacy. Intimacy is a very big area. And what I want you to do for intimacy is just focus more on how you're treating people. If you are really chatty with them and giving lots of love and hugging them, and you find yourself pulling back or being more critical, try to take note of that and try to feel more balanced. You don't want to repeat the patterns that were done to you to someone else and hurt them. So even if it's a relationship or a child, whatever it is, really focus on getting help for those feelings. And if you feel that the other person is doing it to you and that you're struggling and you don't know how to show love, or you're not getting the love that you deserve, focus more on taking the walls down. So it's not so much about getting the other person to change. It's more about breaking the walls down a little at a time, or maybe melting the glacier a little at a time. In most relationships, small steps in the right direction mean so much more. So just showing effort that you care about the person is going to go a long way. Sticking to your promises is going to go a very long way. Breaking promises just proves that you're unreliable, so you don't want to do that, even if it was done to you quite a bit. So really, when it comes to intimacy, if you don't have intimacy in your life, it's either that on some level you feel like you don't deserve intimacy, or you're just with the wrong person who doesn't want to show you intimacy. So you have to believe that you deserve it. And once you believe that you deserve it, you either will be leaving the person who's not showing you intimacy, and you will have enough confidence to do that, Or if it's really something that you notice that you're a part of the problem too, you're going to start working on breaking down the walls that you have so that you can let more love in. And I know all of this seems easier said than done. I have other videos, I have some videos linked below, but subscribe, ring the bell, and let's stay connected so that we can work on all of this. And if you haven't joined the Sanity Soiree that I just brought up a little bit ago, it's a support group for women where we not only focus on enriching our lives, but healing. I don't feel like healing has to be painful or a drag. I feel like when we heal, we should be celebrating that we're enriching our lives and feeling better about ourselves. So the Sanity Soiree is a fun, creative space where we focus on self-healing and love. I hope this video has helped you, and I have another video for you.